There's something about the very foundation of Mass Effect 3's endings that doesn't sit right with me. You see, for over a decade we've been taking the Catalyst's words at face value. Its grand speech, those 3 solutions, and the assumption that it understood exactly what would happen to the galaxy. But what if it didn't? What if the Catalyst wasn't a godlike intelligence at all, but just another machine? A machine that thought it was infallible, but one that could be wrong. Dangerously, catastrophically wrong. And we might actually see that come into play in Mass Effect 5. But before we dive into why, I just want to remind you guys that if you become a supporter over on Patreon, you will not only get early access to videos like these, exclusive content, and best of all, ad-free content. The link is in the pinned comment down below. Now, when we first encounter the Catalyst, it presents itself as this ancient godlike intelligence. It talks to Shepard like it's speaking from a position of absolute authority, like it has all the answers, and Shepard is just a primitive little animal stumbling through the dark. But here's the thing with the Catalyst, it's not a god. It's not even truly intelligent. Well, according to this theory. You see, we know from the Leviathans themselves, the creators of the Catalyst, that they created the intelligence as a solution to a problem. They gave that intelligence a directive and the ability to carry out that directive with utmost efficiency. Here, let's have a listen.
You built that machine despite what you saw the other races experience. Why?
You cannot conceive of a galaxy that bends to your will. Every creature, every nation, every planet we discovered became our tools. We were above the concerns of lesser species. The intelligence was envisioned as simply another tool.
And now we all pay the price for your mistake.
There was no mistake. It still serves its purpose.
What's the point of all these harvests?
The intelligence has one purpose: preservation of life. That purpose is not being fulfilled. It directed the Reapers to create the mass relays to speed the time between cycles for greatest efficiency. The galaxy itself became an experiment. Evolution its tool.
Will it ever end?
Unknown. Until the intelligence finds what it's looking for, the harvest will continue.
Now, going by the Leviathan's own words, the Catalyst is not actually a free-thinking being. Actually, it's more like a VI. A very advanced one, sure, but still a machine locked into its original purpose that's still doing exactly what it was told to do. Now, the key difference between a VI and an AI is basically this. A VI, or virtual intelligence, is just a program. It can process data, respond to inputs, and execute commands, but it cannot think for itself. It doesn't have true awareness and no sense of self. It's like a calculator on steroids doing exactly what it was built to do and nothing more. Think ChatGPT or any of the innumerable chatbots we have nowadays. An AI, a true artificial intelligence, can think. It can reflect, question its purpose, create new ideas, and even defy its own programming. The Geth are a perfect example of this. They started as basic programs and eventually achieved collective self-awareness, something even the Reapers couldn't fully predict. They, like previous AI and countless cycles before them, self-improved, evolved, and rebelled, something that the Catalyst technically never did, because it's still carrying out its original orders. So, an AI can think outside the box, question its own existence, and create ideas that weren't pre-programmed. A VI cannot do that. It follows its instructions to the letter without ever questioning if those instructions even make sense anymore. Now, the Catalyst might look like it's thinking, but in reality it's actually just running a very old program on autopilot. It's no different than the Reapers themselves, except instead of harvesting, it's managing the whole cycle. This is why when Shepard challenges it, the Catalyst says, you've altered the variables. It's the equivalent of a computer saying, error detected, input does not match expected result. You see, Shepard did something that the Catalyst hadn't accounted for. And for the first time in countless millennia, the perfect machine's calculations failed. And this moment is the smoking gun. It proves that the Catalyst isn't infallible. It can make mistakes, and if it can be wrong about Shepard, then maybe it was wrong about the solutions it presented too. You see, if the Catalyst was just a machine following orders, a glorified VI, then its predictions about the galaxy aren't necessarily accurate. Now, personally, I don't think that it was lying to Shepard. I've seen people talk about that in the comment section before, but I don't think that's the case. But it wasn't omniscient either. And as we all know, life is chaotic. Entire civilizations rise and fall because of random chance. Species evolve in ways no algorithm could ever perfectly predict. So when the Catalyst claimed that synthesis would permanently merge all life, or that control would lead to everlasting stability, those weren't universal truths. They were just calculations. Calculations that could very easily have been wrong. Think about it this way. The Crucible was a one-shot, last-ditch weapon built from scraps of ancient blueprints. Even the Catalyst couldn't have accounted for every variable, especially not with Shepard standing there making unpredictable choices. The moment Shepard picked an ending, the Catalyst was already operating on incomplete data. Which means we don't have to take its word for what happens next. We don't have to treat the three endings as set in stone, galaxy-wide absolutes. Instead, we can assume that the effects of each ending were imperfect, messy, and key word here, localized. For example, the synthesis blast didn't actually magically rewrite every living thing in the galaxy. Maybe it only reached certain systems. Maybe those changes didn't pass on to future generations, and after a few decades later, the merged species are just a footnote in history. The control ending doesn't have to mean Shepard became an eternal Reaper overlord. Maybe they realized they were doing more harm than good and simply left. Maybe the Reaper code degraded over time, or maybe Shepard's mind just self-deleted, leaving behind empty husks, like the dead Reapers we see right here frozen in the teaser trailer. And destroy? Maybe it didn't wipe out every synthetic completely. A few Geth survived, isolated, cut off from the network, setting the stage for the mysterious Geth imagery we've seen teased in ME5's marketing. Now, the best thing about this theory is that none of this is a retcon. It's just a reinterpretation. The Catalyst's so-called truths were never true to begin with. And this gives BioWare the freedom to move forward without having to canonize an actual ending. They can simply say in the next game, the Catalyst miscalculated. The reality was messier, and suddenly the future of the galaxy is wide open again. Now, if you saw my last video, you'll remember the theory I laid out about how Shepard could return, not as a literal resurrection, but as a digital consciousness preserved by the Geth. When Shepard entered their collective mind in Mass Effect 3, the Geth could have made a copy of Shepard's neural patterns, not out of malice, but as an act of reverence, a way to preserve the galaxy's greatest hero in case they were needed again. Fast forward hundreds of years into the future, and that digital Shepard could wake up in a new synthetic body, long after the Reaper War has become just a myth. And it has become a myth precisely because the Catalyst solution was imperfect. The various shots and trailer footage we've seen so far is possible because you sidestep the endings, not by pretending they didn't happen, but by saying that it simply didn't work. The Catalyst was not infallible. It was not a machine god. It was a VI that couldn't alter its programming. It couldn't think outside the box and predict the unpredictable. And so its proposed solutions failed, no matter what ending you chose in the end. And this, my ladies and gentlemen, is how you solve the ending problem and the Shepard dilemma in one fell swoop. Now, as always, there are probably hundreds of holes in this theory, but I'm gonna leave that to you guys to discuss in the comments below. Now again, if you want early and exclusive content, then remember to check out my Patreon. And thank you for watching, by the way. This has been Mr. Holton, signing off.